Hey, yo, what's going on, everybody? It's Adrian. I'm back with another draft day video. It's kind of messy in my room. Ignore that. But this one's gonna be fun. It's gonna be the last upload for me for a mock draft. Since the draft is literally in 2 days. It's Tuesday, April 23rd right now. The draft starts on Thursday. I'm excited. I hope you are too. I'm gonna go through all 32 picks and tell you who they're gonna draft in my opinion. And this one's gonna involve trades as well. And I think I made some pretty realistic and fun trades. I kind of just went through um, how I thought it would roll and if people would trade up or not or back or whatever. So it's going to be fun. I'm pretty excited. Let's get into it. So, first overall pick, of course, the Chicago Bears. They're not trading it. It's obvious at this point. Everyone knows who it's going to be. It is Caleb Williams, quarterback out of USC. Obvious quarterback one. He's elite, big arm, big play magnet, solid under pressure. He can escape and do damage on the ground. He's accurate. He's a good leader. He's a little shorter, but not short. He ran a simple offense out of the shotgun, so I mean he's got to work on a few things, I suppose, for an NFL style offense. But and his mechanics, I suppose, could use a little cleaning up. And he had some fumbling issues, quote unquote. He had a bad O line though; they were smacking him up. Yeah, he's going to be a starter for the Bears day one, and he's already set up by this Bears team better than Justin Fields had it already. He hasn't even been drafted yet. So Caleb Williams, obvious pick. I think he's going to be a star basically day one. He plus I kind of love. I don't have my fingernails painted, but I kind of love that he paints his fingernails. Like to be real, I don't care. Anyway, that's the Bears pick. Next, we got the Commanders at number two. Who could they pick? There's a couple guys they could go with. They're obviously going quarterback. It's either going to be Drake May or it's going to be Jaden Daniels. And depending on who you ask, they have their specific favorite. Most people think Drake May is the better quarterback out of those guys and ready to go, but a lot of people think Jaden Daniels fits the Commanders' offense better. The new offense under Cliff Kingsbury that they're going to be running. I do think Jaden Daniels could be better in that offense, but I also think Drake May will be fantastic in that offense. I don't see why they would draft Jaden Daniels over Drake May. Everyone literally knows that Drake May is a more polished passer. He's young, he's ready, he's got a cannon, he's a dual threat, he's accurate. Maybe he's a little slower at reading defenses. I don't know, but he's not afraid to sling it into traffic. He'll be a very fun watch for this offense and he should also be the starter day one for the Washington Commanders. He could struggle at first. The Commanders aren't set up quite as nicely as the Bears have set up for Caleb Williams, especially with some of those O line guys there. But I still think he's gonna crush it. Maybe not as much as Caleb Williams, but who knows? Maybe they'll both kill it. Maybe they'll both struggle. You never know. But I think Drake May is going to be a Washington Commander on Thursday night, and it's gonna be fun. Next at third. Now remember, I said there's trades in this one. Most people think the Patriots could be the first trade candidate, and they've been talking about it. They said they're open for business. They want a haul of picks. With Drake May off the board, will anyone trade up though? That's the question. I think if Drake May was on the board, if the Commanders took Jaden Daniels, I think there would be a number of teams: the Vikings, maybe the Broncos, maybe the Giants, the Raiders. There'd be quite a few teams calling with the Pats saying like, "Hey, how much do we need? We're off you this to get to the pick number three because we want Drake May." But I also think if Drake May was there, the Patriots would kind of just sit and pick him. I think with Jaden Daniels as the quarterback here, the Patriots are gonna consider some trades. Now, are they going to pull the trigger? If they get a big enough amount of picks, if they get a big enough haul, I do think they will pull the trigger. But since it's Jaden Daniels and not Drake May, I don't think anyone's going to offer them quite enough that they're going to want to trade out of this pick. I think they're going to stick and pick Jaden Daniels, quarterback out of LSU. Um, yeah, he's a very fast dual threat, Heisman winning quarterback. He's got a strong arm. He's got some inconsistent throws and is off the mark every once in a while. You could see that while watching Malik Neighbors. He would just miss him sometimes, which is unfortunate. And of course, it seems like he needs to put a little weight on that frame. He's super skinny. Can he take big hits from NFL caliber defenses? That remains to be seen. The good news is with the Patriots, if they do pick him, he can sit behind Jacoby Brissett for probably most of the year and learn behind him. That's a good quarterback to learn from, and I think Jaden Daniels will be set up in a pretty good spot to sit behind Jacoby Brissett and learn. So I like this pick. I think it's good. I think it makes a lot of sense, And that's what I'm going with at 3 overall with the Patriots. Welcome, Jaden Daniels. Next, at 4 overall, we have the Cardinals. Now, is this the spot that somebody would trade up? JJ McCarthy is on the board. Will the Vikings want to trade up to this pick? Hop over, like the Giants, the Raiders are there, the Broncos. Maybe the Giants could trade up. Maybe somebody else wants one of the big receivers, or Joe Alt even maybe. So the Cardinals are going to be fielding some calls, and they could trade down. They do have another first round pick also though. So I don't know. I think they'll consider it, of course, but I really think they'd be silly to trade out of this pick, especially with Drake May off the board again. So, like I said, I think they're going to consider moving out of this pick, but ultimately Marvin Harrison Jr. out of Ohio State is an elite receiver in every aspect. He's fast, he's got sticky hands, he's tall. He could break more tackles, I suppose, but he's a beast. He's like what everyone wants in a wide receiver, and I think they'd be silly to pass on him. He could be the next Larry Legend in Arizona. I think I said that in the last video. Yeah, if they draft Marvin Harrison Jr., which I expect them to do, he will immediately be Kyler Murray's favorite target, and he will be a stud. He might be like the favorite to win offensive rookie of the year, or just rookie of the year in general. I mean, that depends on Caleb Williams, Drake May, and possibly any other quarterback that starts, but still, I think Marvin Harrison, you cannot pass up on this talent. I don't care what anyone says. Do not trade out. Do not trade out of this pick. Take Marvin Harrison Jr. Next, at 5th overall, we have the LA Chargers. Chargers, another spot. Could they trade back? Will they be the first trade? That's a question. They could. They do have big needs at wide receiver and O-line, and there are a couple big wide receivers here. I think Malik Nabers would be a fantastic pick for them here. But if you listen to Jim Harbaugh talk, he has mentioned how they want an O lineman. He loves his hog mollies, basically. He loves his big O lineman in the draft. So I do think that they're going to be fielding trade calls for this pick for somebody that wants a receiver, maybe JJ McCarthy. And I know a lot of people aren't going to like this, but it's been mocked all over the place, so I don't care. I'm thinking the Vikings are going to trade up over the Giants. The Giants, would they take JJ McCarthy? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But the Vikings, if they like JJ McCarthy like I think they do, they're not going to take the chance. They're not going to risk it. They traded up for a reason, right? So the Vikings trade up to number 5 with the Chargers, and they take JJ McCarthy to be their franchise quarterback. They make sure they get their guy. The Chargers, they could get the Vikings 2 firsts, and the Vikings get this pick. I think that's a pretty solid trade. Maybe since it's for a quarterback, the Vikings would have to give up more. I don't know if the Vikings would want to give up more though for JJ McCarthy. For Drake May, for sure they would. JJ McCarthy, I'm not sure. But JJ McCarthy out of Michigan, he's a natty winner. He's pretty good in like every category, but he can improve still. He doesn't have too much time in the as a starting quarterback, so he would do well to sit and learn. The Vikings, they have Sam Darnold, so he can. There would be a good like battle between those two, and it would be a fun watch. I think Sam Darnold could win it off the bat, just because JJ could sit behind, but he'd probably be starting like by the halfway mark. You never know. I'd be good though. I think JJ McCarthy could be really good in that Vikings offense with Justin Jefferson there to throw the ball to, and Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson. Like, he'd be set up pretty good on this Vikings team. So I like this pick, and I think it's very plausible for the Vikings to jump ahead of the Giants with the Chargers. And the Chargers, I think, would trade down. I think they'd be very open to it. Next, number 6 overall, the Giants. Now, Malik Nabers, notice he has started to fall at this point. Most people think he's going to be picked within the top 5 picks, maybe top 6 with the Giants, especially here. So the Giants, maybe they'll field some trade down calls. I don't think they would, though. They desperately need a number 1 wide receiver. They haven't had one since Odell Beckham Jr. So now they have their pick of the litter, basically. I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr. is gone. He would be the pick here for sure if he was on the board. But Rome Odunze and Malik Nabers are both on the board, and I don't think the Giants would even pick up the phone at this point with both of them on the board. They can have their pick, and It just depends on what they want. Malik Neighbors is more talented. He's faster. He runs really good routes. But Rome Odunze is bigger. He's stronger. He can go up and take targets out of the air over the defenders. It's basically just pick your poison. And I think the poison for the Giants is Rome Odunze. Big receiver out of Washington. He can catch over any defender, like I said. He is a good route runner as well. He's good after the catch. He's not going to outrun too many NFL corners, and he could be a little more aggressive against pressure, but he's instantly going to be their best receiver. He's going to be a clear X, which fits this offense well with who they have so far. He can be there with Darius Slayton and the rookie from last year, and he just fits better. I mean, Neighbors would be a fantastic pick too. Don't get me wrong; either one of them would be a great pick for the Giants here. But Odunze, I think, just fits the offense better here. So that's who I'm going with. He can go up and get the ball for Daniel Jones or whoever starts at quarterback there, and I think the entire Giants offense would absolutely love Rome Odunze out of Washington at 6 overall. 7 overall, we got the Tennessee Titans. I mean, you could make a case for Malik Neighbors here as well. The Titans do have a couple receivers there. They got D Hop, and they just signed Calvin Austin, right? Is that his name? That's not his name. Calvin Ridley. Calvin Austin's on the Steelers. Not the same guy. Calvin Ridley, they just signed as well. So they have a couple guys there, but Malik Neighbors would be a stud for Will Levis in this Titans offense. So they're definitely going to consider him. And they could think about a few other people, but ultimately I don't see how they could go with anybody other than Joe Alt out of Notre Dame. I know like everyone's mocking me here, but I agree with everybody. He makes so much sense for this offense. They need both tackle spots. Joe Alt can be a plug and play left tackle. He's the best tackle in this class. I suppose it's arguable, but most people will say it's Joe Alt. He should be good right off the bat, right out of the rip. He should be good. He might not ever be like a great NFL tackle, but you never know. He's going to be good though. Instant starter for the Titans at left tackle. Like I said, it's a tough call with Malik Neighbors still on the board, but they need a tackle, and Joe Alt should deliver for them. Next, at 8 overall, we got the Atlanta Falcons. Malik Neighbors is falling. The Atlanta Falcons, they're definitely going to think about taking Malik Neighbors, right? I mean, they have Drake London. They just signed, was it Mac Hollins, I believe, from, what was he, on the Raiders or something? They have a good tight end, Kyle Pitts, although he is unproven. They could definitely go with Malik Neighbors for their new quarterback there in, oh my God, I'm blanking on Kirk Cousins. There we go. They could definitely use Malik Neighbors for sure. But I think, I mean, also they do need edge. They could use corner, so they're going to look at a couple other guys. But Malik Neighbors is the top talent on the board, clearly, at this point. And I think people that are looking at receiver are going to be calling the Falcons at this point. The Falcons don't plan on trading down, but someone is going to offer them a good amount of picks, a good healthy amount for the Falcons, who are not really rebuilding, but they could use some talent for sure on that defense, especially, I would say. So they're going to field some calls, and one team I really like to trade up and get Malik Neighbors, and that is the New York Jets. I did not plan on this trade at all when I started this draft, but when Malik Neighbors started falling with the Jets picking and trying to get to the Super Bowl, they saw this opportunity and they could not pass up on it. So the Jets trade up with the Atlanta Falcons. Maybe they give them a third this year and next year to make this pick happen. Maybe they have to give up more than that. I don't know. I'm not really a big trade guy, but to get this Super Bowl run going, Malik Neighbors and Garrett Wilson would be possibly, arguably, possibly like the best receiver duo in the league, right? Garrett Wilson, Malik Neighbors getting passed to from Aaron Rodgers, that would be extremely dangerous, and the Jets could not pass up on that opportunity. So with Neighbors falling, they trade up, they get Malik Neighbors. Oh, I didn't click yet. Malik Neighbors out of LSU. Speedy receiver, route running is great. He can go in the outside or in the slot. He's dynamic after the catch. He needs to learn a few more routes maybe for the outside, but he is a fantastic receiver that anyone would do good to draft. And like I said, pair him with Garrett Wilson, and this Jets offense is immediately one of the most dangerous ones in the NFL, in my opinion. Jets fans would be, I think, ecstatic to get this pick. I know they could use like a tackle probably, but they do have a couple tackles for this year. And like I said, they're going all freaking in for this draft. And Malik Neighbors would be like the biggest all in draft pick that they could make in Detroit this year. And I think Jets fans would be ecstatic if the Jets pulled this off. So I got the Jets trading up at 8 to get Malik Neighbors. Next, at 9 overall, we got the Bears. Now, the Bears only have like 4 picks in this draft after all the trades they've been doing. So they are definitely going to try to trade down with this pick to grab more picks. But with the couple trades already made, and I don't think there's too many like big name talents that people want to trade up for at this point. Like they think they might get their guy where they are, or someone is in where they want. So I think the Bears would have trouble finding a decent trade candidate for this spot. And they're kicking themselves right now because Malik Neighbors did not drop to them. They were like foaming at the mouth when he was still on the board in the pick before them. So they don't get Malik Neighbors, but they have to stick and pick with this pick, and they have a couple guys they could go with. But one guy that I think just fits this defense well, and you could argue it's like a slight reach, but I don't think I think he could go here, and that is Jared Verse, the edge rusher out of Florida State. He could be the first defender off the board like this scenario. He could also drop due to he's a little older than some of the other guys and he's had some inconsistencies. But like I said, Jared Verse, he just fits this defense well. He fits the 4-3, and I think him and Montez Sweat would be just a quite a fantastic duo for the Bears defense, and I think they would love it. Get back to their good defense days with the Bears. And yeah, Caleb Williams and Jared Verse get a stud on offense and a stud on defense, and the Bears are in good shape after this draft. Like I said, they probably will try to trade down, and honestly, I think probably there's a 75% chance that they do trade down in this draft, but in this scenario, it just did not come to fruition, and I think they would be happy with Jared Verse either way. Next, at 10th overall, the Falcons are on the clock after trading back, and listen, Falcons are ecstatic with how this draft came out. Like, yeah, they're not getting Malik Neighbors in that pick, which maybe Falcons fans are going to be like, hey, why do we not pick Malik Neighbors if he literally falls to us? And yeah, you could make that argument, but the Jets offer them something good. They trade back, and they still get the guy that most people think they are going to be getting, who fills a huge need for this team, and that is Dallas Turner, the edge rusher out of Alabama. He had great production throughout his college career. He's a little small for his position, but like I said, he fills a huge need, which is the number one need for the Falcons at edge. And I think for the Falcons, they're switching to a 3-4 defense this year, and I think he could be a stud immediately for this team. He's that's like a talent infusion that they need on defense. And with the Falcons division that they're in, I think getting Dallas Turner here would just help them. I think the Falcons are in good position to win that division this year, and with Dallas Turner adding, Dallas Turner and Kirk Cousins on offense, I think they'd be ready. They'd be ready to go. So I like this pick for them, and with the trade down, I think it's even better because without Malik Neighbors there, I usually will pick Dallas Turner for them at 8 anyway. So it makes a lot of sense. I think they'd be happy with this, and that's what they go with. Next, at 11th overall, we got the Chargers, who had traded back with the Vikings. They got 2 first-round picks. This would be the first one. Jim Harbaugh is happy to make his first pick as a Charger. I suppose it's not Harbaugh making the pick, but you got to know he's in his ear, right? Yeah, but Harbaugh, like I said earlier, he really seems like he wants one of the big O linemen, and with this trade down, I think my favorite O lineman in the draft falls into their lap, and that is Taliese Fuaga out of Oregon State. I absolutely love this lineman. He's a mean dude that just pushes people into the dirt, and I think he would fit perfectly opposite Rashawn Slater on the O line at right tackle. Now, Fuaga could also switch to guard in the NFL, but he will be given every opportunity by this Chargers offense in this scenario to win the right tackle job in camp over Pipkins. And I think he would win it. I love Fuaga, and he is going to annihilate people for that offense for Justin Herbert on the right side. And I think Jim Harbaugh would be ecstatic with this pick. I can't wait to see Fuaga in the NFL, to be honest. no matter who he gets drafted by. But yeah, that's what I got the Chargers going with at 11. Next at 12 overall, we got the Denver Broncos. A lot of Broncos fans are a little nervous for this pick. The Broncos, I think, are going to be trying to trade down here, but like I said earlier with the Bears, at this spot, I think it's going to be just with how it went. At least I think it'll be hard for them to find a trade partner that would be worth it. So, in my scenario, they're kind of going to get forced to stick and pick here. And what are they going to do? They did just trade for Zach Wilson, who, I mean, they swapped late round picks, so I don't even know if he would beat out Jarrett Stidham for the starting role, to be honest. And I do think they're going to come up with a quarterback at some point in this draft, whether they trade back or they pick him at 12 or they pick him in later. But the problem is the Broncos do not have a second round pick right now in the draft. So that's one reason why I think they're definitely going to try to trade down to get a second round pick. But since they don't get the option here, they get no offers that are worth it. This is a tough one for me. They could go in a multitude of different directions, but for me, I just really don't think they want to roll with their quarterbacks right now. So I'm going to have them reach. And I know Denver fans are going to be upset with this pick. Maybe some of them are going to be happy. I don't know. But they pick Bo Nix, quarterback out of Oregon, at 12th overall. This is a reach. But Bo Nix, listen, he's good in the pocket. He's got a solid arm. He can tuck and run if he needs to. He's a little older, I suppose, but he's smart with the football. He might be the smartest in this draft, quarterback-wise, that you can count on as a possible starter. And he just is kind of like the perfect quarterback type for a Sean Payton-led offense. And I think he would start immediately. I think he would beat out Jarrett Stidham and obviously Zach Wilson and start immediately for the Denver Broncos. And I really do think he would be a good fit for that offense. So I know this is a reach, and a lot of people don't like this pick, but a lot of people are also making this pick, which is difficult. But I just really like the fit, so I go with Bo Nix. They could, like I said, trade back and try to pick him later, but in this scenario, that didn't happen, and they just bit the bullet and they picked him. Now, who knows what they're going to do in the actual draft come Thursday, but I like this pick, and I think there's a decent percent chance that it actually happens, and Bo Nix could be a good starting quarterback in the league for the next 10 years. Who knows? We won't know until that happens. So Broncos take Bo Nix at 12. Moving on to 13, we got the Raiders. Now the Raiders, I really like Talise Fuaga for the Raiders, but in this scenario, the Chargers took him off the board a couple picks before, so the Raiders have to pick up their pieces and figure out what else they're going to do. They have a couple different needs, a couple different ways they could go. The corners are all on the board. They could look at, maybe they could look at, like, I don't know, D tackle, O line. Some people think they're going to look at Michael Penix. They're definitely going to take a peek at him, but I don't think they're going to pick him at 13. I think they're pretty confident with Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew. If need be, they'll probably end up taking somebody at some point, but I don't think it'll be in the first round. So, looking at the board and how everything's going, I am going to go with Troy Fautanu out of Washington, O lineman. He's a shorter prospect, which means he could move to guard in the NFL. The Raiders are okay with that possibility, though. They have an opening at right tackle and at right guard. They did sign, who was it? Like, was it Laken Tomlinson or Cody Whitehair? They signed some guard that could start for them this year just in case. So in this scenario, I think they try out Troy Fautanu at right tackle, comes in and starts day one. And if he struggles, they can move him to right guard and still be happy with what he gives them. So Raiders, Troy Fautanu. I really do think they would rather have Talise Fuaga, and Fuaga would be a great fit for the Raiders offense. But number 2, Troy Fautanu. I think they're still happy with that guy, and I think he would still do good for this offense, for protecting whoever the quarterback might be. Next, 14th overall, we got the New Orleans Saints. And the Saints, I think, in my opinion, I know some people are going to disagree, but I think they have their specific guy written down already on paper. He's available still in this draft, and I think they are running to the podium. They are not picking up the phone for anybody calling them to try to trade, and they are going to draft Olu Fashanu out of Penn State. He is a solid left tackle for the NFL. He's very talented. he does not have a mean streak, so he can get beat every now and then around the edge. He's kind of big and wobbly. Um, but he had a fantastic career, and yeah, you can point out some weaknesses here and there, and some people don't like him that much, but he honestly could end up being the best tackle out of this draft. That's there. I mean, there's definitely an argument to say he is the best tackle in this draft. You don't know until they play, right? So, yeah, the Saints though. Trevor Penning got benched last year, and Ryan Ramczyk on the right side has a bad knee injury, and he's probably going to miss at least the opening for the season. So, tackle is a huge need for the Saints, and Olu Fashanu could start day one at left tackle. Maybe they'll try to move Penning to the right side. I don't know, but Olu Fashanu I think will be good for him, and I think it's a good pick for the Saints, and I think they love it. So next we go to 15 overall, and that is the Indianapolis Colts. Now the Colts at this point have a bit of a tough decision. There are two, maybe three players here that they would love to draft. They're all available, so they're very happy with the outcome of this specific draft scenario. Um, One of their biggest needs is corner, and the top two corners are still on the board, and I think they're going to take a long look at them. But for people that know the big draft target that has been falling at this point, that someone is going to have to pick that has been linked to the Colts in this draft cycle, that is who I think they're going to pick in this scenario, and that is tight end Brock Bowers out of Georgia. He is a fantastic receiving tight end. He's an okay blocker, maybe solid blocker if you want to say, but Brock Bowers would immediately give Anthony Richardson a great target from the tight end position to go along with Michael Pittman on the outside. And the Colts need somebody else on offense, and I think Brock Bowers would be that guy in this situation. And he just makes this offense that much more dangerous and that much more effective. And honestly, the Colts, if they get Brock Bowers, I think they could push for a possible playoff position if Anthony Richardson is who they think he is. Hopefully he doesn't get hurt this year. But yeah, Brock Bowers, I think him and Anthony Richardson would have a great connection day one, I think. And it's a great pick. I know their defense might be hurt because of it, but I don't see how they can pass on Brock Bowers if he is here at 15. Next, 16th pick in the draft, we got the Seattle Seahawks. And in my opinion, this draft is not going in their favor. I think they want an O lineman personally. They could go with a few defensive guys. The corners are still on the board, so they could definitely go corner. Maybe there is an edge or a D tackle. They could go with a few different guys here, but with how it's going, I think they're going to field a few calls, and I think I picked a team that really wants one of these top corners that are still on the board to come up and trade with them, and that is the Philadelphia Eagles. Now I know the Eagles they do not pick corners high, but it's a desperate need basically at this point in this draft, and I think they're going to this year. And I think with the corners falling to 16th, I think the Eagles see this as an opportunity. Howie Roseman loves to wheel and deal and make trades, so they move up with the Seahawks, and I don't know, they could give them like their first and maybe swap a fourth and a third or something. I don't think it would cost all that much to move up here. And they would want to move ahead of the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are known to want a corner. So the Eagles move up and they get to pick their choice of corner. Will they pick Quinyon or will they pick Terrian? That is the question here. And I think for the Eagles defense, they're going to go with Terrion Arnold, corner out of Alabama. Terrion Arnold, he did struggle at the combine drills, so he could drop a little bit in this draft, but he's very talented, and the only thing really is that he lacks a little bit of speed to stick with some of the faster receivers, but he still projects to be a great starter, and for this Philadelphia defense, he would be a stud. Um, and the Philly defense, they struggled at the position last year with Bradbury and Slay, and they're both going to be free agents anyway. So I think Terrion Arnold would be a great pick for him, and I think if he doesn't start right away, he could learn a little bit behind Slay and Bradbury, and if they struggle once again, Terrion Arnold would be right there to pick up where they are struggling, and I think he would be great for them for a long time. He would be able to cover number one receivers, I think so. Eagles move up to get their guy, and that leaves the 17th pick the Jacksonville Jaguars with the guy that the Eagles don't pick, and that is Quinyon Mitchell out of Toledo. I think they're very happy with this pick either way. I think they'd be happy with Terrion Arnold or Quinyon Mitchell. Quinyon Mitchell, though, fantastic product out of Toledo. He might be a bit raw, but he has the size, the speed, and the ability to make turnovers to be an absolute monster in the NFL and an immediate number one guy for a Jaguars defense that's very in need of a corner. Um, yeah, Quinyon Mitchell could definitely be the best corner in this draft. It just depends on how he develops, and I think the Jaguars would be happy to try to develop him. Um, yeah, they're happy with that pick. So moving on to number 18 overall, we got the Cincinnati Bengals. Now the Bengals, they could go a couple different ways as well here. They got like right tackle. They could go with a big right tackle guy. I know Mims, J.C. Latham, both available. I think they would like either of those guys. But they also have to replace DJ Reader, who is the big man in the middle. And one guy I think that would be good to replace him there that the Bengals have brought in and they like is Byron Murphy, the D tackle out of Texas. Like I said, they got to replace DJ Reader, and Byron Murphy is the best D tackle in the draft. He could give them a little edge rush from the middle as well. And wherever Byron Murphy goes, he's going to be good automatically. And I think the Bengals would be happy to get him. Like I said, they could go right tackle as well. J.C. Latham is falling, so in this specific scenario, that's the way that they definitely could go too. But I just think they really like Byron Murphy, so that's who I am going with for the Bengals. 19 overall, we got the LA Rams. Now, the Rams could move up in this draft depending on how it falls and depending on who they want. They could go for like one of the big receivers. I know Puka showed out and they still got Coop, but they are missing just one little piece, I think. And somebody like Brian Thomas could be that guy. But they just lost Aaron Donald in on that defense, who was a lot of their rushing production was from Aaron Donald. So I think they're definitely going to be trying to replace him. And I think Byron Murphy would have been the perfect guy to do that. But since Byron Murphy's gone, there is one other guy that I think that they really like in this draft that I think is the best edge rusher in this draft, but is falling due to medical reasons, and that is Laiatu Latu out of UCLA. Like I said, he, in my opinion, is the best edge rusher in this class. He's got a fantastic ability to get to the quarterback. The only reason that he is falling and he's behind Dallas Turner and possibly Jared Verse is because of a near career ending neck injury that he had a couple years ago. That literally, the first doctor he saw told him that his career was over. But he bounced back and he is a stud. And I think if the Rams pull him out of their hat here at 19th overall, he will be an absolute star for them, and he should help to replace Aaron Donald's production on that defense. I think they'd be very happy if Laiatu Latu fell here. And yeah, that's who I'm going with at 19. At 20 overall, the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's two options that I see realistic here for the Steelers. That would either be Brian Thomas, the wide receiver, or, and I think the or is very big in this case, that is J.C. Latham, right tackle out of Alabama. I think the Steelers would, they might be running to the podium if J.C. Latham falls this far to the Steelers. And I think it's a very, very possible outcome for him too. I know a lot of people have him pretty high, so he could definitely go a lot earlier than this, but I don't know. I just think he's such a question mark. I think he's going to fall. And the Steelers would be ecstatic to pick him up here at 20th overall. He is a massive man with the potential to be a difference maker at right tackle in the NFL. He is very raw, like I said, and he could do with a lot of coaching. The Steelers have good coaches, though, so I think this is a perfect spot for him to land, honestly. And the Steelers, I have heard, could trade up to get him too if they like him that much. So yeah, but he would allow Broderick Jones to stay over at the left tackle, the guy they drafted last year. And with big Broderick Jones on the left side and bigger J.C. Latham on the right, the Steelers are going to be set on the O-line, let me tell you. Both tackle spots are going to be great for him. And they're really going to help both Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, or maybe even a rookie, who knows. Whoever is playing quarterback, J.C. Latham will be a big help for that person. So next we got 21 overall. We got the Miami Dolphins. Now, they could go a multitude of different ways too. They actually, despite how talented they are, they do have quite a few holes that they could go with. Um, I do think, though, they only have 6 picks in this draft, and yeah, Wilkins is gone, so they could look at some D tackles, but Byron Murphy's off the board. Edge they like, but in this scenario, all the edge rushers are off the board. Of course, they need some O-line help. They'll probably look at people like Graham Barton, maybe JPJ, some other guys, Jordan Morgan maybe, but in this scenario, I think they're going to be picking up the phone. They don't have a third or fourth round pick, only 6 picks in the draft. I think they're going to want to replenish some of those picks, and they are going to find a trade partner, and that is the Washington Commanders, trading back up into the first to get another pick, and that is left tackle Amarius Mims out of Georgia. The Commanders send a high second, maybe a high third to move up with the Dolphins to pick the last, in my opinion, high level tackle candidate, and that is Amarius Mims. He's another huge guy like J.C. Latham, massive blocker with the raw talent to be one of the best tackles in the league, but he is probably the biggest possible bust at tackle as well if he doesn't get the right coaching that he needs. He didn't get too much playing time in his career with Georgia, but the talent is just there, so he's gonna go in the first. And I think the Commanders would really love to have this guy, since I think they have Cornelius Lucas right now projected to be their left tackle. So yeah, I think Mims would compete with Cornelius Lucas to protect Drake May's blind side, who they just drafted. So they draft this big hog molly to protect Drake May, and Mims could win out of the gate against Cornelius Lucas. I'm not sure. He's been in the league for a while though. He's a solid vet, and I think he'd be a great teacher for Amarius Mims to learn from. So either one of them could win, but Amarius Mims will be starting for this team at some point in this year if he gets drafted by him. So I think the Commanders would be happy with that. Moving on to 22nd pick, we got the Seattle Seahawks. They traded back and they finally are up to pick again. Now, they traded back because I think their main candidates were off the board. They still could go a couple different ways. They could go with like a corner. They could go with maybe even the first linebacker off the board. They could go with here. Maybe an edge rusher, but none of the. Maybe Chop Robinson. I think he'd be a legitimate option here if the Seahawks traded down. But since there's one guy on the board that I do think they would like a little more, and that would be Graham Barton, guard out of Duke. Graham Barton is just a nasty player at the O line. He's kind of like oh my gosh, he's kind of like the guy that the Chargers picked earlier, Fuaga. He's just nasty. He throws people to the ground. He's a beast, and he is going to make the move inside in the NFL. I doubt he would play tackle, but he could play anywhere on the line for the Seahawks, honestly. The guards and centers for the Seahawks are all going to be free agents after the season, so wherever they want to put Graham Barton is where he will start, but he will be starting somewhere. I think he'd probably start at guard, starting out, to be honest. And then possibly make the switch if they don't bring in a different center next year. But Graham Barton to the Seahawks, I like this pick. I like Graham Barton a lot. I think he's definitely going to be a first rounder. And going to the Seahawks and protecting Geno, I think would be a solid landing spot for him. So that's who I go with for the Seahawks. Next, the Chargers are on the board with their second pick. They got a O lineman with the first pick in Fuaga. Now with their second pick, I think it'd be absolutely crazy if they didn't come away with one of the top receivers in this draft. And the best one, in my opinion, on the board right now is Brian Thomas Jr. out of LSU. Malik Nabers' buddy. He is fast, he is strong, he is aggressive, he's a vertical threat. His route running could use a little bit of work, and he drops the occasional ball, which is why he's not up in the big leagues with the top 3. But he would immediately be the Chargers' number 1 option, and Justin Herbert would absolutely love this guy. The Chargers trade down ultimately lands them a starting right tackle and a big target for Justin Herbert to kick off Jim Harbaugh's new regime in LA. And I think Chargers fans would be absolutely happy. They'd be super happy with this outcome. So I like what I did with the Chargers here, and I think Brian Thomas Jr. is a great target for them. Next, at 24 overall, we got the Dallas Cowboys. I think the Cowboys would consider trading down at this point with some teams on the phone. Um, Especially, I think they really want Graham Barton, and he's off the board in this scenario. But ultimately, I'd be surprised if they went in any other direction if this is how it goes. And I have them taking JPJ, Jackson Powers Johnson out of Oregon. I think he's the perfect center prospect to replace Tyler Biadasz, and he could even play guard if the Cowboys want him to. So the Cowboys absolutely need somebody to help out on that O line, and JPJ I think would be a great spot for him. So that's who I got to the Cowboys. Next, at 25 overall, we got the Green Bay Packers. Last time I had them drafting Jordan Morgan, which I still think they would consider, but he's dropped a little bit in my opinion. And someone else has risen, and I think would be another perfect Packers player, and that is Cooper DeJean out of Iowa. Is literally like the perfect spot for DeJean to land, as the Packers can put him next to Xavier McKinney at safety, or they could use him at corner to help out Jaire Alexander. Ultimately, I do think he would probably end up playing safety alongside Xavier McKinney, though, and he probably would end up being a stud for the Packers for like the next 10 years. Cooper Jean's a really good player, and going to Green Bay, you would see his jerseys in the stadium every Sunday, and I think he'd be very happy to end up in Green Bay. Next, 26 overall, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, there is one player that I really think that they like here and that they would pick in the scenario, but somebody called them and offered them a deal that the Buccaneers simply could not say no to. So I have the Buccaneers trading back with the Detroit Lions in Detroit. I think they're going to be making a big move for their fans. I mean, I guess it's not a huge move, but they do move up a few spots to get their guy. Um, the Lions, I think they could get nervous with that the Cardinals or the Bills or maybe the Falcons would come up and trade and take away who they want here. So they're gonna swap their first, maybe do a like pick swap of thirds, or just give the Bucks a third or something like that. And I think that would be enough for the Lions to come up and pick their guy. And that's someone who I've read recently is someone that they seem to be a bit infatuated with, and it's a huge need for them. And that is Kool-Aid McKinstry out of Alabama, whose speed is really the only reason that his stock has taken a fall at all. If his speed didn't take a hit, I think he would have been the first corner off the board. Um, yeah, the Lions though they draft their own way, and I think they really like Kool-Aid McKinstry, and they just lost Sutton to some bad off the field issue, and they need a corner, and they trade up to get their guy. Kool-Aid McKinstry I think would be a perfect fit. Yeah, he will get beat here and there. That is true. But Kool-Aid McKinstry, his entire college career has been nothing but like one of the best corners since his freshman year in Nick Saban's defense. And that is a very impressive feat. So I think Kool-Aid McKinstry will be a good candidate for the Lions. And I think he could be their number one corner day one. So I think they would like this pick. I think Detroit would be going absolutely bananas if the Lions made this move. And I don't know. I just like this fit here. So that's what I got for the Lions at 26, trading up. Next, we got the Cardinals at 27 with their second pick. People do think the Cardinals are going to trade down, but they have a lot of picks, so I don't know why they would. In my opinion, they're going to stay here, especially with who is still on the board. Because there's one player here that I think really fits the Cardinals' needs right now, and that is Nate Wiggins, the small corner out of Clemson. Wiggins is the fastest and arguably best cover corner in this draft. He will stick to his man. He does need a little work on run defense and protecting the edge, and he definitely needs to add a little weight to his frame. But other than that, he's one of the best corners in this draft, and I think the Cardinals would be very happy to have him. They might have to put him in nickel, but going next to Murphy Bunting, he will be a great, I think, guy to help lead this team's defensive backfield. And I think the Cardinals would be really happy to get Nate Wiggins out of this draft, along with Marvin Harrison Jr. I think that's Nate Wiggins falling to 27. I think the Cardinals would absolutely love. So that's what I got with the Cardinals. Next, at 28 overall, we got the Buffalo Bills. Now, the Bills are a little interesting of a team. I think they're definitely going to be calling people to possibly trade up to get like one of the big name receivers, but I just don't think they have enough firepower or will to make that type of move. So in this scenario, and what I ultimately think is going to happen in real life, is they're going to be sticking and picking at 28, and there's a couple different ways this could go. I know a lot of people are saying receiver, so there's definitely a couple guys. I know Brian Thomas would probably have been perfect for him, but there's also another guy that I like here for him. They definitely could go defense though too, and I think they're definitely going to consider some guys like Chop Robinson, um, Johnny Newton, maybe some other options there. But ultimately, I do have them going receiver, and there's a couple big names that they could go with, but one that I think fits their offense that's still available here is A.D. Mitchell out of Texas. He's got good size and good speed. His only issue is that he seems to like give up on routes sometimes. Maybe you can call his work ethic into question, but I think the Buffalo Bills would whip him right into shape, and I think he would be a great Stephon Diggs replacement. Now, I'm not saying he would ultimately be as talented as Diggs is, but he could be. He's a very talented guy, and I think Josh Allen could throw it up to this guy for some big plays, and I think he would end up being a star in this Buffalo offense. They do have a couple fast guys already. That's why I didn't go with somebody like Xavier Worthy. But I think A.D. Mitchell fits what they're doing, and I think he'd be a good pick for him here. So that's who I have at 28. At 29, the Buccaneers, after trading back, are back on the board. And the guy who they were going to pick is still on the board. So they're happy to still make the pick, and that's Chop Robinson out of Penn State. What a cool name, Chop. He is a smaller guy, which hurts his draft stock. Otherwise, he's a great edge rusher. Great production his whole career in college. And for the Buccaneers, listen, they took a smaller guy last year in Kalijah Cansey. So after losing Shaq Barrett in the offseason, I don't think they are going to care at all about Chop Robinson's size. And they would love to pair him with Yaya Diaby to harass quarterbacks for the next however many years they have them both together. So Chop Robinson to the Bucks, I think, is a great fit. Next, at 30 overall, we got the Baltimore Ravens. Um, there are they could go a couple different ways here. I think a receiver, maybe if A.D. Mitchell was still on the board, would have been great. Um, Chop Robinson probably would have been good as well. Uh, but I do think O line is a major need and priority for them. And there's one guy that I still think basically has to be a first round pick, and that is Tyler Guyton, the big right tackle out of Oklahoma. He's got a lot of potential. He's maybe a step below Mims, which is why I didn't talk about him earlier. But I think the Ravens would absolutely love this guy. I think they could run to the podium with his name on their ticket. They lost most of their O line, and with Tyler Guyton still on the board, I think the Ravens would breathe like a sigh of relief that they get to draft him to protect Lamar Jackson's right side for the foreseeable future. So I think they'd be very happy with this pick. Next, at 31 overall, almost done here, we got the San Francisco 49ers. I honestly don't know what direction the 49ers are going to go in. They could go so many different directions here. I think they could go wide receiver with Xavier Worthy or some of the other Lad McConkey, some other guys on the board here. Quite a few options. They could go corner here. We got most of the corners are off the board here, but maybe Lassiter could hop up here. A couple other guys you could say, maybe even Milton. Right tackle is an option. Colt McKivitz is still there, and they did just sign him. And with Tyler Guyton off the board, I don't really see that happening. But I mean, maybe Jordan Morgan or some of the other guys could be an option here. But one guy that is still on the board that I think is that the 49ers are going to see as a first round talent that they just simply can't pick over, who's not exactly a need for them, but is super talented nonetheless. I think they go best player available, and that is Johnny Newton, D tackle out of Illinois. Very talented, and he's going to be a great contributor with the right coaching. He needs a little work on run stopping, but I don't think the 49ers are going to care too much. He's going to be a really good pass rusher from the inside. And the 49ers, honestly, their only really good pass rusher that they have right now is Nick Bosa. I think if adding Johnny Newton to the fold would be a really good addition for him, and he would help get to the quarterback basically with Nick Bosa there. And to get over the hump that is Patrick Mahomes, I think they would be happy to add this guy to the fold. So Johnny Newton to the 49ers. He could go earlier too, so this is a good pick for him. Even though he might not start off the bat, but he'd be a great rotational, even third down type guy in there. He'd be absolutely getting to the quarterback. So It'd be a fun guy for them to pick. And last but not least, we got the Kansas City Chiefs at 32 overall. Now, they could be fielding some trade calls. Maybe somebody likes Michael Penix and they want to get his fifth-year option, or one of the other guys on the list there. But with Rashee Rice getting in trouble in the offseason, and honestly, it's looking kind of like he's probably not going to be playing this year for him. I think they basically have to go wide receiver here. And there's a couple guys they could go to, two individual that I think they would like. That is Xavier Worthy and Ladd McConkey. I think that's who they're going to pick from. And the only thing that makes me make this pick is the fact that they signed Hollywood Brown. Xavier Worthy is kind of like a Hollywood Brown type player, although he could be better. But since they do have him, I do think they would take Ladd McConkey, receiver out of Georgia, to fit into the slot. McConkey is one of the best route runners in this draft, and he's also he's pretty fast. He's got good running ability, and I think he just pairs really well with Hollywood Brown and Kelsey on that offense. And I think he would be possibly an immediate 1,000-yard receiver with Pat Mahomes there coming out of the slot. So I think they would love to draft this guy, and I think there's a really good chance that they do draft him. Basically, no matter who's on the board, just because he really does fit this offense really well. So that is my mock draft with trades. Let me know what you think, guys. What did I do right? What did I do wrong? Who did I draft for your team? And did you like it? Did you hate it? Let me know. But until next time, don't know. I'll probably make a draft recap, maybe grade video. That should be fun. But yeah, have a good day, and we'll see you next time.